Hey, friend. So I have been checking in on basically everything that I've been learning in the past week plus. And like I said, I've been running a bit of an experiment of having a milieu log to notice everything I am listening to, reading, and even just what comes up and resonates in conversation. This is part of a personal practice I'm taking on right now to clarify my mind and improve my learning process. And what I've noticed from this first week and a half, is that the amount of content that I am listening to and reading is perhaps too much, even though I'm engaging with the vast majority of it quite intentionally. When I looked back at the list of these podcasts, like the Power episode by the Emerald, a podcast with Zach Stein on the future of education, episode of Mark Gaffney about the Kabbalah and wisdom of Solomon, as well as exhortations from Soryu on the 10 stages, reading the 10 stages, reading the path to Samadhi, a few other things here and there. It's a lot, and I noticed there's a sort of generalized sense of strain, which I'm wondering if that could be just me creating the conditions of kind of preoccupation, this sort of habitual preoccupation, which I think I used to be very much in the outside world. And I'm curious about what it would feel like to drop that, to simplify it, to do even less, but to go deeper and slower. So that's going to be the general theme moving forward into July. Perhaps taking a full day plus with each non-human media that I am in conversation with, taking the time to actually return to it and re-express in my own words the core takeaways. So I'll wrap up here with one more theme on this note, which comes from the conversation with Zach Stein about the future education, as well as the movie The Life of Chuck, which I just saw. And sort of the core theme that I see in both of those is this need for good epistemics as a part of this mental hygiene and cognitive sovereignty. There's a need for, asking the questions, how do I know what I know? Or in this case, what have I been learning? What am I learning? How do I know that I've learned it? And how does that relate to my ultimate goal, my personal goal, to my vows? And so for this example, I'm making these videos as a way to test myself, to re-articulate what I've been learning, with this goal of bringing forth an ideology that can help us process the grief of this moment and realize wisdom by the global mind. So I'm investigating the nature of our mind and the composition of our mind, the ways we are composing this mind in terms of our social relational network, the physical body, mind, the heart, the gut, the fascia, everything that computes together, as well as the digital practices, how we use this thing. But yeah, this core theme, common theme I see in both is like, even with the emergence of AI, there is a need for good epistemics. There is a need to train our personal minds. And the most effective practice I have found personally has been the Zazen meditation of constant mindfulness, using the breath to cut through the constant proliferation of thoughts, to develop a habit of mental cessation and relinquishment. And I notice with that, in my experience, comes even more relaxation, groundedness, clarity, and openness to what we might call spontaneity or spirit or God. My aunt just the other day mentioned a very similar phenomenon in St. Franciscan Church. They talk about spiritual poverty, or poverty is one of their core ideas, and it's like not just material, but this poverty of self, being empty, not filling yourself up with self-absorption, being empty so there's space for God. Very similar. And the last note I'll add here is one of the exhortations Soryu I listened to. He talked about the first precept, do not kill. And he mentioned how the precepts can be found here. Because when you look at it, what this is saying really is do not kill this moment. Do not add anything on. Do not abstract everything into the concepts that you're thinking about. Like, just be here in the moment. And so the question becomes, how do you not add on when it's our habit? How do you return to this direct experience, to this direct revelatory experience that is part of the innate human capacity? I think one way I'd describe it is that we are these divinely receptive beings, but we are swimming through an ocean of sound and noise, much of which has been programmed and shaped and put out there by beings with agendas that are other than your personal well-being. And so how do you move through it all? How do you protect yourself and this mind? How do you purify your mind? How do you know truth? How do you discern all of this? How do you expand what you know to be true and come into contact with what is true? And how do you share that with others? These are all really important questions, and look forward to continuing to ask them. So, thanks for tuning in. May all of your needs and desires be clarified so that you may move towards them and they come true. Much love.